The Tranifesto has been released. The Tranifesto has been released, and we are going to unpack it here on the Morning Buzz in just a couple of minutes. But the FBI, they are really refusing to comment on the leak. Now, we've gotten word from the Nashville PD, the MNPD. They've released a statement about the shooter's manifesto, which was leaked by Steven Crowder. For those of you who don't know, I watch Crowder almost every night. Steven Crowder, it's one of my favorite shows, Louder with Crowder. What he's doing as far as media goes, it's incredible. It's all subscription based, and I think that this is the way media should be going, all subscription based, paid for by viewers like you. Step away from being beholden to people like BlackRock. This is what Fox News, they really screwed themselves over. And I don't think a whole lot of people watch Fox News anymore because they were beholden to BlackRock. They got rid of Tucker Carlson. People don't like that. People tune in for the content. Uh, and Crowder, he's doing something completely different from any other media source out there, conservative media. And I watch him a lot. So I watched his reporting. YouTube took off the report, or they knocked his video off of the reporting of the manifesto. And I read the manifesto. I read the images. We have it shared on Cities 92.9. Full disclosure, today it's going to be kind of tough to read through this manifesto, and eventually I am going to get there. In the manifesto, she claims that there were a number of times that she could have been caught in 2021. And the FBI, they released this statement in an email, and they said, as this matter is being addressed by the courts, the FBI will not be commenting on the reported documents. On the manifesto, there was a local news uh, organization there in Nashville that also uh, reported this manifesto and confirmed the manifesto. So this is legit. The manifesto is legit. It looks like Crowder got it from somebody with inside the Nashville Police Department, an insider. So they did their homework on this, and this is legit, the manifesto. So we're going to be covering that, plus a Virginia Democrat posting herself urinating outdoors. Yes. And this isn't the first. I don't know what's going on with Virginia's political landscape recently, but it's been taken by storm with some really unconventional behavior by Democrat candidates, specifically white liberal women. I think that's really odd. Their campaign tactics. Let me just call them that for now. We are going to get to all of that. But first, I do want to get to Eric Swanson and then eventually to the Trans Manifesto. Audrey Hale, we know that that shooting took place in March of this year. I covered it here on Cities 92.9. We're going to cover it a lot today. But before we get into it, I really kind of want to get Pastor Latasha Fields on the line. You guys can see us live in studio. That's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Pastor Latasha Fields and I, we are going to see each other just in a couple of days out in Shanahan. What are we going to be doing there, Latasha?
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for having me again, Kat. We're going to be dealing with how our government has been used to weaponize our freedoms and liberties. So I believe there's going to be a lot of insight concerning that from myself, as God give me the grace to do so, and other pastors that will be there in support of Pastor Stephen Lee. And I'm pretty sure your listeners are very well versed in everything that has transpired against him concerning his rights and needs as a pastor within the framework of the political process.
Yeah, and I mean they have weaponized the government against Pastor Stephen Lee. Pastor Stephen Lee is being indicted alongside President Donald Trump, various RICO Act violations, and we've gone through that before on the program, The Morning Buzz, where Pastor Stephen Lee, they're charging him essentially with knocking on a door, placing a phone call. These are overt actions. They refer to these as overt actions that furthered a criminal enterprise. The RICO Act says that you have to have two criminal actions. These are obviously not criminal actions. And they're redefining what the RICO Act actually says We've talked extensively with David Shostokis on that. It's clear that they're weaponizing. He was in his pastoral role, in his being a chaplain, and he was just conversing with this woman. And this woman has been accused and is seen on tape. She's feeding ballots through this tabulator multiple times, and the same ballots multiple times. And she's caught on video, and he just knocks on her door. I think he might have called her, or maybe, and I don't even know the ins and outs of it. All I know is that you cannot be charged in the United States for simply calling somebody and asking questions. And they're doing this to Pastor Stephen Lee, I believe, because he's a pastor, and they are weaponizing the government against somebody of faith, because they
Yes.
don't like him because of his faith. They don't like him because of his role as a pastor. And I'm sure, Latasha, you've had your fair share in the, the weaponization and people not liking you because of speaking out. But Latasha, today I kind of wanted to talk with you about a congressman. I actually woke up this morning, kind of looked and was scrolling on Twitter, and I found this, and I was like shocked by it that our own congressman here in the state of Illinois, that's Eric Swanson. He's a Democrat in the 17th congressional district. And I gotta share this video with you, Latasha, because I think it's incredible what Eric Swanson retweeted. Essentially, this mocks Mike Johnson, the House Speaker, for what he said about his position on the Bible, what he thinks about the Bible. So let's take a listen. Here we go.
Yes, people are curious. What does Mike Johnson think about any issue under the sun? I said, well, go pick up a Bible off your shelf and read it. That's my worldview.
Forgive me, Dr. Jacobs. Are you an MD?
A PhD.
A PhD?
Yes, sir.
In psychology?
No, sir.
Theology?
No.
Social work?
I have a PhD in English literature.
I'm asking because on your show, people call in for advice, and you go by the name Dr. Jacobs on your show, and I didn't know if maybe your listeners were confused by that and assumed you had advanced training in psychology, theology, or healthcare.
I don't believe they are confused. No, sir.
Good. I like your show. I like how you call homosexuality an abomination.
I don't say homosexuality is an abomination, Mr. President. The Bible does.
Yes, it does. Leviticus
18:22.
chapter and verse. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions while I had you here. I'm interested in selling my youngest daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus 21:7. She's a Georgetown sophomore, speaks fluent Italian, always cleared the table when it was her turn. What would a good price for her be? While thinking about that, can I ask another? My chief of staff, Leo McGarry, insists on working on the Sabbath. Exodus 35:2 clearly says he should be put to death. Am I morally obligated to kill him myself, or is it okay to call the police? Here's one that's really important, because we've got a lot of sports fans in this town. Touching the skin of a dead pig makes one unclean, Leviticus 11:7. If they promise to wear gloves, can the Washington Redskins still play football? Can Notre Dame? Can West Point? Does the whole town really have to be together to stone my brother John for planting different crops side by side? Can I burn my mother in a small family gathering for wearing garments made from two different threads? Think about those questions, would you? One last thing. While you may be mistaking this for your monthly meeting of the Ignorant Tight-Ass Club.
So I am going to stop that, and we're going to bring Latasha back on. So, folks, I know that was a lot. It was the West Wing clip, and what Eric Swanson did, he tweeted this out, and it's cut with Mike Johnson, who says that, hey, if you want to know where I stand on any kind of political issue, just refer to the Bible. And just read the Bible if you want to know where I stand. So then he cuts this clip from West Wing where this guy goes after a conservative talk show host who talks about the Bible on her program a lot, and he rips into her, and he says that, you know, the Bible is for slavery. The Bible is says that if you touch pigskin, then you have to be, you know, put to death, or if you work on the Sabbath, you have to be put to death. Latasha, your reaction to this clip and rebuttal, really?
Wow, that that was a lot. I was sitting here trying to. I've never heard that. I was sitting here trying to write points to that. that was very, very insulting,
Yeah.
and such a lack of understanding of the scriptures. And so when Speaker of the House Mike Johnson said that his perspective of politics, if you will, is biblical, because I too, many of us confess we're biblically conservative, and so we align everything that we do with the Word of God. There are so many things that he said, that he used in that clip that was just erroneous. First of all, when he talked about slavery in Exodus, if he's referring to American slavery, chattel slavery that America did is not in scripture, first and foremost. So let's not even compare that. The way slavery went in this country is not in the text. It's not in the old or the new. And I know we don't have time to unpack all of that, but that's not in. America did a whole different thing, per se, if you will, in terms of chattel slavery. Secondly, he talked about the Sabbath. Jesus made it very clear that he's the Lord of the Sabbath. And so he said, I am the Lord of the Sabbath. I am rest. He fulfilled prophecy. And that's what he talks about in the New Testament in Mark and Luke and John and even Romans. He say, I'm the end of the law unto righteousness. I came to fulfill it. And then he also says that, oh, foolish, slow of heart to believe that the Son of Man shall suffer and die. So he said, when he began, and I'm paraphrasing, when he began to teach his disciples, he opened up their understanding and he expounded up to himself, starting at the law of Moses, the Psalms, and the prophet. So Christ is the Sabbath. So there is no commandment in the New Testament that we are to cease from our work. When the Bible talks about Sabbath in the Old Testament, that's talking about the sin nature. So because Christ has paid that price for us, we cease from our own works and now we rest in Christ. Okay. Homosexuality. Yes, the Bible talks about homosexuality is an abomination. God declared that it is because it is unnatural and unhealthy. God created them male and female, woman and male, right? So, and then Romans 1 talks about that is unnatural. So we don't even have to go to the Old Testament. We can look in the New Testament when God said man should not lie with man as with womankind. So yes, it is an abomination unto the Lord. And as a believer, we should not apologize for that. It is unnatural. However, we do have to deal with every individual, no matter what they claim to be, in love as we seek deliverance. We should not be compromising with that behavior. So those are the few things that he said. And then even when you read Hebrews 10, the Bible says again, because he quoted a lot of things from the law, even the pig and different things. So when you look at Romans 10, when you look at the fullness, you read Hebrews 8, 9, and 10, it brings you to the fullness of what they did in the temporal of the scriptures, in the temple of the scriptures, and how God said that my house is not made with hands. So we're the temple now. We're the body of Christ. So we don't worship brick and mortar and places and people and things. And so when we look at the mystery of godliness, Christ in us now, the pig was a type and shadow of a tutor, how we don't defile our temple with that which is unclean. And we everything in moderation. And so that's what, it's so much to unpack. But bless God for Speaker of the House Mike Johnson for standing and basically simplifying. If you want to know where I stand, then read the Bible. So we applaud him for that. And all Christians, that should be their anthem, to say, my faith, the way I see the world, my biblical worldview, my perspective is Genesis to Revelation. However, understanding that Christ is the end of the law unto righteousness, and all things was fulfilled by him. So that would be my rebuttal for that clip, the West Wing clip.
Yeah. Well, and I've never seen that clip. I've never seen the movie. I just saw Eric Swanson retweeted this and my jaw dropped. I thought to myself, wow, I mean, that he retweets a movie clip that's, really taken out of context. And as you unpacked for us the Bible, I mean, and it when read in context, that's not at all what the Bible says. And really, it's just incredible to me that we have people in these positions of power who clearly have a disdain for Christians. I mean, this was an attack against Christians, and I would imagine people who live in the 17th congressional district, they they're waking up this morning and they're like, "Cat, I can't believe that I have representation that hates me." like, it literally hates me, because this guy, I think, actually has a deep disdain for Christianity, and that's clear because he retweeted that not even from, like, his own personal page. This was his Congress page. So, yeah, he's very open about his disdain for Christians. But Latasha, we've got to take a break, but before I do, just your reaction this morning. We're gonna cover the Nashville, shooter, Audrey Hale, who took the lives of 3 Christian children and 3 teachers at this, school. It was the Covenant School, and it was a Christian school. So your overall reaction, do you think it's wrong that a publication leaked this manifesto that details out why she did what she did?
No, I haven't read it. This is my first time hearing about it, but just on the surface, I think we as the general public have a right to know uh, what was in the mind of this individual that did this. That this is a devastating, disheartening act that happened to these children and in that community. So, just knowing that we have details of why, no, I don't think it's a bad idea that we have that evidence.
Mhm.
I'm looking
And
forward to hearing what's entailed in it.
yeah, yeah. So, she doesn't make reference to Christianity so much. She does say, God. She prays to a God in the manifesto, and she says, "God, um, give me the wrath, or to give me enough wrath to mask my anxiety, or something like that." And this was a Christian school. She makes lots of references. She calls the children crackers, and how she wants to kill all the crackers, or something like that. And obviously it was anti-white, but people are saying, "Oh, it didn't seem like it was anti-Christian," and I would argue that I think it was, being that she said, "God, give me the wrath to cover up my anxiety," and it's almost like she was serving a different God than what these children were serving, and I think that the manifesto being linked is, a good thing, so that way Christians can prepare themselves, and really arm themselves with the power of God, because you never know if it's going to happen to you.
Yeah,
And I think this manifesto shows her utter disdain and anger towards white people, not only white people, but rather Christians,
yeah.
in this school. So, yeah, I just was curious your initial thoughts on it, being that this was a Christian school. Um, and Christian martyrs. I mean, I said that from the beginning when this happened. These children, they were targeted for their faith, and they died because they were faithful. And she didn't like that.
Yeah,
So,
they definitely died being raised up in the faith, as the word of God says in Deuteronomy 6. So the anger of the enemy using this individual, because those children were being diligently being taught the things of God, to love God with all their heart, mind, body, soul, and spirit. So yes, I would agree. Those babies were targeted because they've been covered and was trained in the things of God. Absolutely.
mm. Well, Latasha Fields, thanks so much for joining me here on the program. Excited to see you on November 9th. We're going to be actually at the Families of Faith Church in Shanahan at 6:30. Latasha, where do we go to find out more about you?
Oh, me? Oh, I thought you were supposed to ask about the event.
Oh, no, more about you.
Oh, wow. So, as your listeners may or may not know, my husband and we've been homeschooling for 17 years. So we do a lot of advocacy concerning education in the city of Chicago and in the state. But I can be reached at info, that's INFO, at epic, EPIC, for change.org. And that's the number 4, change.org. Info at epicforchange.org. Yes.
Pastor Latasha Fields, thanks so much for joining me here on Cities 92.9 and going through these 2 stories with me. We'll be back on the other side, folks, talking a little bit about this Democrat out of Virginia. She posted a tape. I don't know what's going on with Virginia, but they have unconventional campaign tactics, to say the least. I'll be back next. Good morning, folks. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. If you're watching, go ahead, smash the like button. In just a little bit, we're going to be visiting with Judge Joe McGraw. He's running in the 17th Congressional District. He's going to be going up against Eric Swanson. Joe McGraw actually came back from the border recently. And this is huge, folks, because we've got a lot of foreign nationals who are taking the White House by storm. I talked about that a lot yesterday. On Saturday, we saw people throw red paint on the fence, on the gates. People were screaming that the United States president is committing genocide for standing in support of Israel, which, folks, Joe Biden isn't really supporting Israel. You're sleeping under a rock if you think that that's true. Just look at the money. Look at the money. He's funding both sides of the war. He also gave $6 billion to Iran, which started this whole mess where the Hamas terrorists committed this act of terror on October 7th, and that's because of Joe Biden. But this border is a mess, and I know that people are very anxious about the border and what's happening there. I think there was a report done over 100,000 children have been lost at the border. They get to the border and then they're just nabbed, they're taken, or the Department of Homeland Security uh, is really organized human trafficking what they're doing because they're putting these kids into these places that are not good. And the Department of Homeland Security is doing that. So we're going to be talking with Judge Joe McGraw here in just a little bit. Wow, explosive interview I had with Pastor Latasha Fields. And Latasha Fields, she actually was running as a lieutenant governor candidate or a lieutenant governor candidate with Max Solomon from this year. And that voice you're hearing, David Paul Blumenshine, joining me in studio. We're going to be interviewing Judge Joe McGraw. Judge Joe McGraw, thanks so much for joining the program. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hear you just fine.
Great, Joe. Judge, we've got you here, and we're going to talk with you because you're running for the 17th Congressional District. And I wanted to first ask, what was your trip like at the border? You recently went to the border?
Yeah, it was more than one could imagine. The national security implications as well as the human costs are staggering beyond your imagination.
Yeah. And Judge, what got you into this race, the 17th Congressional District? And can you tell me where that's at? And Eric Swanson currently is the congressman in that district. I've already talked about Eric a little bit today. But tell me why get into the race? And I keep calling you Judge. Tell me about your experience.
Yeah, thank you. I just retired July 5th from 21 and a half years on the bench. Before that, I was in private practice, and part of that time, I was also a prosecutor. And I saw the effects on our country and our communities over the years, more so than ever, accelerating in the wrong direction the last few years. So when I retired, after presiding over the criminal division, being chief judge of the circuit, and for the state of Illinois during part of that time, I knew that I couldn't just sit back and kind of sail off into the sunset. Got 5 grown kids and grandkids, and I looked at our country and I wanted to step up. I felt called to step up, my wife and I, to address what was going on in Washington to save our country for the next generation.
And Judge, one thing that I wanted to ask you about was, the Eric Swanson. So he's our current Democrat congressman. What more can he be doing? Because recently, I mean, I'm seeing news of these trees coming to Bloomington Normal. For our listeners, they understand this. The EPA, they just gave a $500,000 uh, from the EPA Environmental Justice Collaborative Program Solvay. I don't know. Some sort of bureaucracy that gave a $500,000 to protect residents from, quote, and I'm quoting Eric Swanson here, extreme weather that has plagued our region, making it difficult for Illinoisans to live. Is extreme weather making it difficult for Illinoisans to live? And is that priority number one?
What's making it difficult for Illinoisans to live are all the Biden policies that have been in effect the last several years, and we could catalog them, but time doesn't permit us to do that. We could spend time talking about how the country's less safe, how there's tons of fentanyl coming in, criminals and people from terrorist countries. We could talk about the rate of inflation. We could talk about the interest rates. We could talk about lack of energy independence. And the list just goes on and on. We could talk about how the role of parents have been undermined on the education of their children. So what could he be doing? More than nothing, which is what he's been doing. He's voted with Biden administration almost 100% of the time. He's their rubber stamp, and their policies are wrong for America and wrong for the 17th district.
And Judge Joe, David Paul Blumenshine here. It's good to have you on the Morning Buzz this morning. I want to hear a little bit more about a couple things this morning. The totality, and I get an understanding of what it's like to be in a third world country by going on mission trips. But you now, without even being elected as congressman, have been to the border, which is more than what a lot of, I don't think, is Eric Sorensen been to the border. But tell us, it's one thing just to say it's crazy down there, it's unstructured, it's chaos, but give us a real sense of what's in your heart after viewing the mass humanity at the border.
I'm deeply and gravely concerned for the future of America, because that situation that I observed, I went there my own dime and made firsthand observations, spoke to people firsthand. It was more than just a photo op with a wall. It was a real dig down deep fact-finding mission. So I'm gravely concerned because we have, I spoke to the Border Patrol and others. There are people from terrorist organizations coming across the border, and they're coming from countries that bear malice towards the United States. What are they doing here? What are they doing here? Will there be another 9/11 situation? The drugs alone, when I was a criminal court judge, especially in the last few years, I saw undocumented criminals in my courtrooms. I saw a huge uptick in overdoses, especially from fentanyl. And at first, it was kind of a blip, an anomaly. Then it became routine, and then it became overwhelming. So we've seen those things. So when I think about the irresponsibility of the administration reversing the previous administration's successful policies, stopping the building of the wall, letting people come in, the entire social system is completely overwhelmed. Whether you're talking about food, hospitals, non-governmental organizations are completely overwhelmed. The individuals are coming into the country with no accountability at all. And so it's just indicative of his failure, policy failure, his weak leadership to reverse successful policies and to allow millions of people, literally millions, to come into the United States that are of dubious value and dubious character. And so now our communities have all become border communities in a sense, by having to deal with these individuals that end up in our area, our 17th district, and also the drugs that end up in the 17th district. It becomes a border community just like Yuma, but to a lesser extent. And that poison is infiltrating throughout the entire country.
Unequivocally, Judge, you would say, in your best words, the border is not secure, correct?
It is not secure. It is, the floodgates have been opened by the Biden administration. So it's not secure would be an understatement. The floodgates are open.
So, Judge, what's the solution here? Should we be sending the military down there? Because this sounds like an invasion.
Well, it is an invasion. It's the death by 1,000 cuts. It's a little bit happening every day, and more and more and more, and ramping up more and more and more. To at the border near Yuma, they went from just a trickle a day to some days they're over making 800 arrests. Some days they're they might arrest 1,200 people in a week, and those are the ones they can actually lay hands on. And it's important to note that some come across the border and just sit down to, wait to be arrested. Those are they're called give-ups. And then when all the law enforcement assets have been completely absorbed dealing with them, then the getaways, those who really mean us ill, coming from a number of countries that are on the terror watch list, come across when the border is virtually unmanned after all law enforcement assets have been absorbed, removing the give-ups. So then the getaways come, and there's many military-aged males without accompaniment crossing the border. And so it kind of belies the narrative that it's just, families coming across. There's definite strategy and people coming from far and wide.
Mm. And I wanted to read something to our listeners. So, you keep saying that essentially now every border or every town is a border town. And I think that this is important. Paul Vallis, he's a top Democrat, Chicago Democrat here in the state, and he's calling on Governor J.B. Pritzker to issue a state of emergency here in the state of Illinois. And he even suggested that Governor J.B. Pritzker use our National Guard with its 50 armories and state police to screen and temporarily house these illegal immigrants before determining a final destination. And there are 50 armories throughout the state of Illinois, one here in Bloomington Normal, there's one in Pontiac, Champaign, Decatur, Springfield, this area here. And I mean, what can we expect if these immigrants are being housed in the armories? Possibly, I mean, it's said that there could possibly be colleges that open up their doors to house these at public universities. It's already happened in Chicago. I believe it was Wilbur, Chicago, or Wilbur College or something like that up in Chicago area. Uh, should Illinoisans be concerned with migrants being housed in these armories, or is that a good thing?
Well, it's not a good thing. They should be concerned, but it's those suggestions take the focus off where it needs to be. The focus needs to be on the border itself. Yes. On the border, we need to finish building the wall. Number one, it's been a proven deterrent where it is in place. And the other thing is to return to the policies of the previous administration, allowing those that are seeking asylum for humanitarian reasons. President Trump negotiated agreements not only with Mexico, but with other Central American countries to provide sanctuaries, if you will, there for those seeking asylum in the U.S. And that was through strong leadership and using the leverage that America has with its foreign policy and its financial leverage over these countries. And so that policy was working. And so if someone would come to the border, they would make their application, they would remain in Mexico while the application was reviewed, or they would be sent to a Central American country which would provide asylum for them if they were fleeing another country. And there they would remain safe, not taken advantage of by the cartels and the human smugglers. They remain safe there until their case was adjudicated. Whereas now, the Biden's administration is expediting the flow across the border and expediting the flow of humans to other states. And so focusing on what to do, putting them in armories or colleges or whatever, entirely misses the point. The point is to secure the border. There can't be a solution or immigration reform without securing the border first, because we have zero control, or almost zero control, over who's coming in. And just think about it. We're actually incentivizing people to come in because we're not stopping them at the border. They're allowed to come in. They're given a notice to appear before a judge, sometimes 4 years in the future, for their asylum case. And so in the meantime, they're in the wind. They're far flung and with no accountability of any kind.
Judge, are you familiar with this new talking point that we seem to be coming up with called the replacement theory for voters? That the Dems really want to just flood the zone, per se, with a whole core of new voters, a voter base. So Paul Vallis's plea to have armories open and secure these people is really going to fall on deaf ears with JB, because JB's out there parlaying Joe Biden for more federal bailout money for his sanctuary state, which he obviously put in place via Bruce Rauner, former Governor Rauner's legislation to make us a sanctuary state.
I'm familiar in general terms with the concept, but I think the issue is the Democrats are realizing they're losing their base. Many of the people who come here legally and have become citizens, including in the Hispanic community, are very strong on having a secure border. Flooding the zone, as you say, with immigrants from who knows where, it has all kinds of consequences. It drives down wages as they're willing to compete for jobs that are unskilled jobs at low wages, taking jobs away from Americans. They are being promised who knows what exactly, but there are many who are here in the U.S. Who really cannot contribute in a meaningful way, who are not necessarily asylum seekers, but they can't really contribute in a meaningful way. And we have the right as a sovereign country to decide who gets to come in. So as far as the replacement theory goes, I think in general terms, they assume that these people will become dependent upon the Democratic Party on the government and will automatically vote to vote for Democrats. But bottom line is that those that are here already, that are the Democrat constituents, are already feeling the competition, are already feeling the squeeze from this huge influx of migrants. And I think they risk alienating their current base.
I know we have a lot to get to, but we're not going to be able to do it in one show with Joe. We're going to have to bring him back, because here, Joe, you reside in Rockford, Illinois, just to the north of Bloomington Normal.
Yes.
And between us and you is an entire other congressional district. Your congressional district looks like a serpentine. It's 14 counties of the 102 counties in Illinois. So it's crazy, the district, the layout of the district, and how much territory you're going to have to cover. I know Kat wanted to get a final question in.
2 questions. What, and they're just yes or no. So, would you be for impeaching Joe Biden? Yes or no?
As a judge, I've learned to wait to get all the evidence, and the evidence is being accumulated.
Okay. And then yes or no question, would you have voted to oust Kevin McCarthy?
The circumstances of his appointment necessarily put him at risk for being ousted. The whole agreement was fraught with many problems.
Well, Joe McGraw, he is running in the 17th Congressional District. Thanks so much, Judge, for coming on, and I wish you luck, and we're going to have you on the program again soon sometime. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks for the opportunity.
All right, folks, we're going to be back on the other side. This is Cities 92.9. Like, love, share this podcast out with your friends. That's cities929.com. I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble. We'll be back. good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate you listening to the Morning Buzz every morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Yes, we talked with retired Rockford Judge Joe McGraw. Now, he is kicking off his GOP bid in the 17th Congressional District. We talked about the 17th Congressional District about quite a lot this morning with Pastor Latasha Fields. I've had a couple of guests on in the 6 o'clock hour. David Paul is joining me. The reason why I had Latasha Fields on was to talk about this clip that Eric Swanson, who currently is the congressman in the 17th Congressional District, we've got him tweeting out this morning something that mocks Christians, specifically Mike Johnson, for saying that when he is asked, hey, where do you stand on X political issue? Where do you stand on this political issue? Mike Johnson shoots back with, well, if anybody's curious about where I stand on the issues, just read the Bible. So Mike Johnson was quoted saying that on the Sean Hannity show, and he retweets that, but then uses a clip from the movie West Wing. And this is a complete mockery of Christian faith. And Eric Swanson, a Democrat sitting congressman, retweets this, reposts this, and I saw this morning, and my jaw dropped. I go, wow, this guy, is he representing Christians in the district? I would imagine. I mean,
Because he's tolerant and he represents everyone. Tolerant left.
Yeah, he's not very tolerant of Christians. I mean, this video is a complete mockery of the Bible. It takes the Bible, it misquotes it.
It takes it out of context. It's a sad statement. As Judge Joe just said, Eric Sorensen is not here to represent the people of Illinois. He's here to represent the political activism of the ideological left, Marxist, socialist group. I mean, that's what he wants to do. He wants to make a better world according to Eric Sorensen.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the world that we live in right now.
I just couldn't even believe it. I was like, wow, you can't get any more anti-Christian than that, I don't think. I mean, as a sitting congressman, it's deeply inappropriate. Sharing a joke and making fun of Christians and making fun of the Bible when you're a sitting congressman of the United States.
With the number one show of the left wing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it
It's
East Wing? West Wing. Oh, left wing.
It's like the leftists have nothing else better to do than to sit around and watch TV shows.
That's where they get their political policy from, is
Yeah.
the left wing. I mean, West Wing.
I'll be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. A Virginia Democrat. I don't know what's going on in Virginia's political landscape recently, but it's been taken by storm with some unconventional behavior by Democrat candidates, and it's really weird, specifically white liberal women. Uh, and I mean, this is just another example. We've got a Virginia Democrat. She's posting a video of herself urinating outdoors. What? This is an actual P tape. So, they sat there and they, Donald Trump, P-tape, 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 David Paul Blumenstein joining me in studio this morning. We're going to go through so much, and I'm so excited because today is also Tuesday. It's Patriot Power Plug. We're going to talk about the FBI, how they're refusing to comment on this leaked Nashville manifesto, and the shooter.
Manifesto? Did you try just saying
Transifesto. That's what I'm calling it. And because it was motivated by her transsexuality and by her disdain for white people and Christians. And I think that people deserve to know what's in this manifesto. And we've already got the Nashville Police Department. There's something wrong there. Something big wrong there in that department because they released this statement this morning or last night late. And I read it and my jaw dropped. I was like, you can't, these are police officers. And they said that they were upset essentially in this statement that they.
Once again, Kat, who controls the city of Nashville?
Yeah, the mayor. Yeah, now the mayor.
A Democrat mayor.
The Democrat mayor.
Democrat mayors across the
investigation.
Country. Their communities are literally turning into cesspools.
Yeah.
Right before their eyes. But I do want to get back to and hear what you have to say about this legitimate PP hoax.
Yes,
because it's
we
not
are
a
going
hoax.
to talk about
it's
that
not
here.
a PP hoax. It's the real deal.
It's
a
the
video.
real deal.
She published a video.
She did. We're going to get to it. And we're going to get to the FBI refusing to talk about the leaked manifesto. This morning, I do want to bring on Mike Coolidge. Mike Coolidge, folks, he is the current Ogle County GOP chairman. He currently runs Coolidge Communications. He's a U.S. Army officer, syndicated radio host, former congressional candidate. And Mike Coolidge joins me now for Patriot Power Plug. Good morning, Mike. How are you?
Good morning, Kat and David.
Ooh.
Good morning.
What do you do for fun, Mike? That long list of things that you have responsibilities over.
Oh, I know.
Yes.
Goodness.
Right now, it's raking a whole lot of leaves.
there you go. You don't do the blowing?
I do the blowing too, but we have a very small chunk of property and a whole lot of old trees on it. And this is taking up a ton of my time, the leaf blowing, and it's not even close to being done yet. So yeah, that's what I do in my free time to answer your question.
What I do in my free time. And he also makes fun of George Kreppel. What'd you call him this morning? I laughed so hard. Mike Coolidge texted me
George
this morning.
Stephanopoulos. I didn't make fun of his name. What are you talking about?
George Stephanopoulos.
George Kreppelopoulos or something like that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Oh
you would
gosh.
never.
I've been watching him since the 90s. You know, I'm in my late 40s. And so I watched him be from this young 30-something press secretary for Bill Clinton, jumping right into him being the host of a major show on TV. Anyway, what he did this weekend is called anti-journalism, where he asks a question, doesn't listen to the answer, thinks he's all smart and smug and really sticking it to the people in power by holding their feet to the fire. And it's as if he's still living in 2020. Do you have the clip of him and Steve Scalise?
I sure do. Let's give it a listen. This happened over the weekend on the George Stephanopoulos show. Here we go.
Right now, can you say unequivocally that the 2020 election was not stolen? What I've told you is there are states that didn't follow their laws. That is what the state constitution, the U.S. Constitution requires. I've seen in my own state where we had to send our elections commissioner to jail years ago for fraud and corruption, and we cleaned up our act in our state. Every state ought to follow the laws that are on their books. That's what the U.S. Constitution says. That's not what I asked. I said, can you say unequivocally that the 2020 election was not stolen? Look, Joe Biden's president. I know you and others want to talk about 2020. We're focused on the future. We've talked about 2020 a lot. We're talking about how to get our country back on track, how to get our economy moving, how to stand up to the bad actors around the world. Xi is not slowing down in China. He's looking at Taiwan. You see what's going on in Russia. You see what Iran is doing to work with Hamas and other terrorist organizations. This administration needs to pick up the pace. They're not standing up to the bad actors around the world. They need to. We're passing bills to address this through the House. The Senate needs to take action. The president needs to take action as well. That's what we're focusing on in the House.
I know that Joe Biden is president. I'm asking you a different question. Can you say unequivocally that the 2020 election was not stolen?
What I've told you, and you've seen this, there are states that didn't follow the laws that are on their books, which is what the U.S. Constitution says they have to do.
So you just refuse to say unequivocally that the 2020 election was not stolen?
So you want to keep rehashing 2020? We're talking.
I just want an answer to the question, yes or no.
Threats to this country. We've talked about this before, but again, will you acknowledge that there were states that didn't follow the actual state legislative enacted laws on their books, which the U.S. Constitution says they're supposed to do?
I know that every court that looked at whether the election was stolen said it wasn't, rejected those claims. And I asked you a very, very simple question. Now I've asked it, I think, the fifth time that you can't.
Let me answer that for you.
Yeah.
No. No.
So ridiculous. He is, and this is what George Stephanopoulos, again, he's not a journalist, but he pretends to be one. Yeah. I understand the strategy Scalise is using here. It's kind of the filibuster thing, which is one strategy, and it was okay. But what every politician, and Glenn Youngkin was on right after, exact same thing. They tried to do the same thing with him. He went even longer in his answers, getting out all of his stuff that he needed to say. You know, you can respond to things. You don't necessarily have to answer. But no, what the GOP needs to do anytime they're asked this stupid, repetitive, non-thinking question is stolen is one term people use. Rigged is what I like to use, particularly by your profession, George. Did you report on or talk about the Hunter Biden laptop, which everyone claimed in your profession was a Russia disinformation at the time? We now know it, of course, was not. People know that it would have changed the election by 2 or 3 points, which would have swayed it in his favor. I mean, you can go at that little bit, but then put it on George. George, your profession, you rigged this election by not talking about a major thing with a thing. You don't need to go into all of the stuff about, which is valid, about how all these different states changed their laws at the last minute, these secretaries of state in Michigan and in Pennsylvania and so on and so forth, but put it back on them. They want to get this talking point, and this, hey, look how tough I'm being to this politicians. And it's just so lazy and it's so inaccurate, but you've got to pivot it to them, attack them in the media. And that will turn into something a lot more, important that needs to be talked about and absorbed by the listeners and viewers of shows like This Week with George Stephanopoulos.
Well, and I think it would be abruptly, in part of the reason that Steve Scalise is not the speaker. Show some leadership. Here it is. Yes, I believe that the 2020 election was rigged, stolen, and there's plenty of election interference to prove it.
Yeah.
Three statements.
Take a stand. Take a stand,
which is what part of the problem with the Republican Party right now, Mike. No one is standing up watching this whole episode of Trump being indicted over and over again. As he is the leading nominee in the Republican Party, where is the Republican leadership coming around him saying, this is, well, other than Vivek. I heard Vivek the other day, and he was really strong in his answers on a liberal outlet about, Trump and all things Trump, because he pointed to the Russian hoax. He pointed to the election interference.
And one thing that I like to point to is that Ruby Freeman video is so damning, and I don't think anybody remembers it, but it's caught on tape. She's feeding these. I mean, that alone needs to be questioned. And if we had a media, I would turn it back on them, like you said to do, Mike. And I would say, have you seen the Ruby Freeman tape? Did you ask Ruby?
Or even just ask, where's your curiosity, George? Where's your curiosity as a journalist? Or are you just going to look on your little piece of paper and say, wait, keep asking about 2020? Stolen. Just keep saying that. Stolen. Yes. It's just so lazy and just it's anti-journalism, a lack of curiosity, a lack of digging into anything. It's hands over their ears. And the narrative hasn't changed at all in the Acela corridor that you can't question an election that a Democrat won. You're not allowed to. A Republican wins, you're totally allowed to question it. But a Democrat wins, no, it is verboten. You cannot mention a word, no pip. You have to claim that it was fair and square, every single thing about it. End of story.
Well, then I would even go, and I'd go even further, and I'd be like, George, do you even want an election in 2024? Because it sounds like you don't want an election. It sounds like the media doesn't want an election, because then I would pull out the headlines. New York Times, The Atlantic, they've published headlines now that have said, do we even need elections? I don't think, and I know, Mike, you're going to think I'm crazy. I don't think that we're going to have a 2024 election. David
Well,
Paul knows that.
Zelensky's talking
Boom.
about not having one.
Boom. And I think that is a little petri dish. That's what they're going to try to look at. Here's the headline this morning. We've got Ukraine. Zelensky says that war complicates plans for 2024 election. What's going on right now? Israel. Joe Biden just sent offensive precision missiles over to Israel. This is no longer defensive aid. This is no longer taking the defensive stance and defending Israel. This is now sending missiles over to Israel. We're going to get ourselves into a hot war over in Israel. And then they're going to come out and pull out of the Zelensky playbook and say, hey, we can do what Zelensky did, and said that this is
we literally had an election during the Civil War. During the Civil War, the biggest war in our country's history, which killed a giant portion of our population's men. We still conducted an election during it. If any member of the government, any county clerk in Illinois, anyone from that to the president even suggests that, get your pitchforks ready, because there will be an absolute national riot by every red-blooded American if that is even suggested.
But you see, I think that they want that, because then the police state is alive and well. Then they'll have the excuse. Then
it's not that far-fetched. It's not that far-fetched that's what we're thinking, Kat. I will give you that.
Kat likes to look into her crystal ball. She starts rubbing it, and you gotta reel her in there, Mike. Don't let her get too far.
It's definitely a thought happening among the left. I will give you that. But no, we will not. We will not let it happen. I promise. We will not let that take hold in this great country.
At this point, what are they going to do? Joe Biden will not be the nominee. I'm convinced of that. What are they going to do? They are on the run. The infighting's going on. There's so much out there. I don't know what the Democrat Party does other than try to totally implode everything and undermine everything. Because they can't do the election integrity thing again. I think too many eyeballs are on that.
Speaking of imploding, what's going on with Paul Vallas? This is probably the scariest tweet that I've seen. Paul Vallas, he tweeted out that there should be a state of emergency, and he's calling on Governor J.B. Pritzker to declare a state of emergency because there's so many migrants, and he wants the migrants to be shipped to a bunch of National Guard armories. There's about 50 of them here in the state of Illinois. And thoughts, Mike Coolidge, David Paul, do you think that we could possibly see a state of emergency? I mean, I wouldn't. We know JB loves states of emergency. He loves operating via executive order, right? So this is possibly a tactic that they're going to use. I don't know.
It's not nuts. I'm looking at the map here on the phone. It's probably bled out. Yeah, it's all over the state. And I would venture, if it's funny, if you listen to a lot of these illegal migrants and you ask them where they want to go, they say Chicago, because that's where a lot of their extended family already is. And what's so funny about this whole scheme that the left has had going on for the past 2 years about, complete open borders and let in as many illegals as possible in order to, change the voting population of certain states. They're going places that are already deep blue, and they can kind of corral these illegal migrants and send them out to like places where I live and places where a lot of your listeners live, far away from deep blue Chicago. But I wouldn't be shocked if they were there for a little bit and said, yeah, we're going back to Chicago. So this game, Chicago will just get bluer and bluer. I don't think it's going to work. I'm absolutely appalled by Paul Vallis suggesting this. Let's put that out of the way first too. But I don't think it's going to gain traction. And even if it were to, these illegal migrants, I think, will just find their way back to Chicago, and this game will not work.
So do you see any validity, Mike, to the replacement theory that's being talked about? There's a reason why we have a flooding of the zone through the southern border is to try to replace some of the votes that the Democrat Party knows they are subtly, slowly losing. Actually, they're not. If the people are leaving the Democrat Party in droves.
They've been explicit, and there's been actual liberal Democrat leftists saying that that's what they want to do. I think it was a Time magazine article that laid that game out years ago. That's absolutely what they're doing. But what's so funny, and you know, I'm supporting Trump. I hope he wins the nomination and definitely wins the president. But you got to give credit where credit's due to Ron DeSantis. He was one of the first. He and Governor Abbott, who also has his issues, but Governor Abbott in Texas, Ron DeSantis said, you know, let's actually bus and fly these people to these sanctuary cities that people claim to be these open-armed communities. And it's the hypocrisy of the Brandon Johnsons and the mayors of Martha's Vineyard and elsewhere. Is so stark now. It's right in their face that you're not so open-armed and sanctuary cities now, ish, are you? If you're trying to send all these illegal migrants away after you purported to be, you know, so open arms and give me your tired masses learning to breathe free, which, by the way, was about legal migration into the United States, not illegal, border bashing and border complete crossing, which is what's happening here.
Well, so, and what needs to happen, and you know, people have been saying, hey, we need to get the military down there because this is an invasion and the military needs to combat this invasion. And I think that is one, but also just enforcing the laws that are currently on the books, the asylum laws that are on the books. You cannot go country to country to 5 different countries and make your way to America and say that you're an asylum seeker. I hate it when the media is like, asylum seekers. They're not asylum seekers.
Right.
They are people who have gone country to country.
None of these
you can only go to
migrants are Mexican. Yeah.
Cat, there's no money in that. Come on.
Yeah.
There's no money in that, Mike. I mean, there's a reason that JB wants all these immigrants in Illinois is because he wants more federal money. He didn't get enough COVID money.
Absolutely. But look, Brandon Johnson, BLM Brandon went to DC to make that exact point. Give us money. Gimme.
$5 billion he asked for, Brandon Johnson, and then he's going to use some of this and
for the Chicago public school system, make sure all those kids are proficient in reading, writing, and arithmetic.
Well, he's building out this migrant winter center for $19 million, and he's paying it's like a healthcare system. And what they do, they get this money and they pay all of their friends, and they get jobs, and they create these jobs for them. They pay them thousands and thousands of dollars. Some of these free healthcare systems are workers. They were a pandemic-based healthcare worker staff or free healthcare staff. I don't know what it's called, but they're getting paid $800,000 per year per worker if these invoices keep coming in the way that they've been going. So they get $500,000 a week in some cases. This is insane. You're paying people to campaign for you. That's what I'm trying to say, is that these people, they get these comfy jobs at this migrant center, this $19 million state-of-the-art migrant center for these migrants to be housed. And then you get to work as a migrant advocate, and you're going to get paid $500,000 a week. And you have to work on my campaign and tell people how great I am. And that's what you have
I want that job.
Was this
sign me up?
I know. It's real.
Was this an episode of The Left Wing? I mean, West Wing too, because Eric Sorensen believes that obviously the West Wing was reality TV rather than just entertainment.
Yeah. Well, we have to take a break. Mike Coolidge, thanks so much for joining me here on the Patriot Power Plug. Mike, where are your coordinates? How can we find out more about you?
Coolidge on Twitter, just at KOOLIDGE.
You converted me, Mike. I'm a fan.
I'm a fan. Mike Coolidge is the best. There's a reason why we've got him on every Tuesday at about 7 o'clock for Patriot Power Plug, brought to you by Nomad Auto Detailing. Find them at nomadsautodetailings.com. Mike, have a great rest of your day.
You too, guys. Take care.
All right. Take care, Mike.
We're going to be back, folks, on the other side. A Virginia Democrat. It gets more and more wild. She's videotaping herself peeing, and she's running for the state legislator. What? I'm back next. Good morning, folks. This is Cities 92.9. I so do appreciate it. Last night, right there at Illinois State University's campus, there were pro-Palestinian chants going on. There were Palestinian flags flying high last night at the Milner Library. You can see it in Sonny Garcia, who is the long-term boyfriend of McLean County Board member Crystal Abel. They or Sonny Garcia posted this video, and it captured quite a bit of people. I'm going to say quite a bit of people. Now, I don't know if these people are college students, if they're voting, if they are citizens. Perhaps they're foreign nationals who have gathered together and they're protesting Israel's existence. They are against Zionism. Zionism is the belief that Israel should exist as a state and as a Jewish state. Um, so that took place on Illinois State University's campus last night. We're back talking a little bit about a Virginia Democrat who was caught peeing on tape, an actual PP or it's not a PP hoax, it's a pee tape. PP tape. Woo! Good morning. Hey, folks, this is the Morning Buzz, 7:32. Man, this has been a packed show. We had Latasha Fields on. She's a pastor. We talked a little bit about the Nashville shooters manifesto, the Tranifesto. And in this manifesto, there's claims that there were a number of times this woman, Audrey Hill, should have been caught and could have been caught in 2021 by the FBI, by police, but the FBI is now refusing to comment on the matter. They said, as this matter is being addressed by the courts, the FBI will not be commenting on the reported documents. So there were leaked documents by Steven Crowder, David Paul, and I. We actually watch Steven Crowder quite a bit. I do. I watch him every night. But you've watched his election coverage. I know you do watch his
we had
debate
to, yeah,
coverage.
because that's what we did it based on. Our last coverage of the election results, the returns, was with Steven Crowder kind of doing the play-by-play on. Well, no, that was that was a debate. I'm sorry,
debate.
We did the debate with Steven Crowder because he was, so captivated by it.
Yeah, he's funny. He's great. And Steven Crowder, he released these documents, and the documents show, I mean, her reason for doing this, and really it's because she's anti-white, she's anti-Christian, she's anti-suburbia, she's anti what America is, and that's why she went in and killed these 3 children and 3 teachers back in March of 2023. This was, and there's probably a plethora of mental illness, a demonic activity.
There is mental illness. Come on. Nobody goes in and shoots people. It's no different than these demon savages, as Bongino refers to them as Hamas, going into a public event of a concert and literally riddling the crowd with bullets from the air, these paratrooper things. I mean, someone, if you ever see the video, which I don't advise you to watch it because I happen to, and you can never unsee that stuff. She literally shoots her way into the school.
Yeah.
Through the doors.
She shoots the doors. She kicks the glass out. And I mean, she had a schedule starting at 6:30 a.m. complete with breakfast at home. And she puts a heart around home. And then she was in a state that was messed up. I mean, she was of sound mind and body. Because she scheduled this out. It was planned right down to the
when you
minute.
say sound mind, I mean demonic savagery. You can still be convinced that you're doing the right thing.
Yes.
I mean, that's the sickness of this cat. Is as evil as it is. She was convinced she was doing the right thing.
Yeah. And she thought she was really a martyr. She knew that she was going to die. She said, "Time to die. I'm ready." She thought she was a martyr for the transvestites and for the trans causes and ideology. She also thought that she was some sort of martyr. Which
so do the demon savages of Hamas and Hezbollah, and in those people who are dying for Allah Akbar.
That's exactly right. She's dying for a cause. And here's what's really disturbing about the whole
God. I don't think she was not professing God in any way, was
she? She did. In the manifesto, she said, "God," and I don't know what God she's referring to, "give me the wrath I need in order to carry this out because I've got lots of anxiety." So the level of narcissism that this individual is going through is astounding. She's continuing to think, and this is a manifestation of what is going on in our public school system. They're told white privilege, white privilege, white privilege needs to be dismantled. You need to attack white people for their privilege. And this is a manifestation of what she's been taught, I'm sure, in schooling and what she has seen.
Well, she went to that school.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a student at that very school that she went back and
Mhm.
ended up murdering 6 people.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't understand why it's taken this long. Here we are, according to my Casio G-Shock watch, it is 11/7. Yep, 11/7. Mark it, November 7th. This happened back, like you said, in March.
Yeah. And now the manifesto has been leaked.
Yeah.
I'm sure that this media, the mainstream media, could have gotten their hands on it. Nobody wanted to leak this. Steven Crowder, his team did, at the risk of God knows what these people had to do in order to get this leaked out there. And now you have the Nashville Police Department getting out there and making statements like, and I'll just read it here on the buzz. It's truly deplorable that the Nashville Police Department issued this statement, and this is the most sickening part of all of it because now we have the manifesto, which the general public has a right to because this speaks to her motives. It speaks to what led up to this moment where she killed 3 Christian kids. Okay, and that's the reason why she killed because they were Christians, martyrs. We, as Christians, David and I, we honor those who are martyred on All Saints Day.
Mm.
We just uh, we should honor those who are martyred in the name of faith. And really, I think that this is what happened here. And white people have the right to know what went on because this was racially motivated. If you go to a Christian school, if your kids go to a Christian school, you have to prepare because there are more people like Audrey Hale out there every day. But here's the police statement. They said that the Nashville Police Department is in communication with the Metropolitan Department of Law as an investigation begun this morning continues into the dissemination. This investigation is continuing into the dissemination of 3 photographs of writings during an online discussion about Covenant School. So so he's talking about Crowder, how he disseminated these photographs in an online discussion. It was a live discussion. The photographs are not uh, MNPD, so that's Metropolitan Nashville Police Department crime scene images. The police department has been in contact with a representative from the Covenant Schools, and they are offering counselors are available to assist them with coping with the emotional trauma caused by the dissemination. This is important. They said that there's an emotional trauma caused by the dissemination. So therefore, the the Nashville police, they're saying that there's an issue with the dissemination of the Tranifesto of the manifesto. And I think the emotional trauma comes from, hey, more so the Nashville shooter, Audrey Hale, she went in there with the purpose of killing white Christian kids because she had an utter anger towards them. She talks about how the kids were riding around in Daddy's Mustang, how the kids were sporting khaki or were in khakis, wearing sports bags, Nike bags. So she talks about all of this in the manifesto. The Nashville police, they're out there saying that the dissemination of this manifesto, is causing emotional trauma, which just isn't true. Audrey Hale caused the emotional trauma with her targeting of
Well,
Christians.
yeah, they've got to do something. Kat, there's nothing new under the sun, as I try to get across every time I'm on the air, because this has all happened before. Columbine was a perfect example. Unfortunately, the magnitude of death in that school back in 1999. Similar scenario. People, Christian people professing Christ, and being martyred at the time, because you don't hear those stories. But now, fast forward, and we're still right back in the midst of things. We're going to address mental illness in this country someday. We haven't heard anything out of since they found the main shooter dead in some recycling field, which once again, all of that, it should come out. We should publicly know all the intricacies of the man who took the lives of those people in Maine.
Well,
But we don't.
Yeah, and here's the thing. If a MAGA conservative killed a bunch of kids at a summer camp for LGBTQ youth, right? If at a LGBTQ youth summer program, and a MAGA conservative went in there, wrote a manifesto targeting that group specifically, do you think it would have taken 7 months for this leak of the manifesto to happen?
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't have.
No, yes, no. That's what I meant.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
The FBI would have plastered that thing all over the nightly news, and
for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Because, Kat, they have to move the needle. That's the constant rhythm they are in. You know, their cycling is maddening because they just keep stirring it. They don't ever settle on one issue.
Yep. We're going to be back. The whole thing stinks. We have to investigate this. I think the Nashville mayor actually came out and said that he would like an investigation into the manifesto. Look, I looked at these pictures. There's a cop car in the background. What I think happened, now I don't know how they got this source, but I think it's a source within the NPD. They took pictures of the manifesto before the crime scene. People got on there and took pictures of the manifesto. They weren't crime scene photos. So I think what happened was maybe an officer or somebody took pictures of that manifesto that day after Audrey Hale died. I don't know. It's incredible.
Before the cover up was able to start taking place.
Boom.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it was. They
it's
covered
unfortunate
this up.
that we have to think like that. But in the days of modern technology, it's good to have resources to expose these people.
We're back on the other side. This is Cities 92.9. Good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for joining me. Yes, the liberals on Twitter, they are alive and well this morning. They're up and they're taken to their their cell phones and they're tweeting. Here's Phil Williams. He says multiple sources have told me that the selective leak of 3 pages of the Covenant School shooting manifesto is extremely misleading. Okay. People who have read the whole thing say that there's something in there for everybody. Another, she hated everybody. So this is Phil Williams. He's got a blue check mark on Twitter. And he's saying that the leak was selective and that it's extremely misleading. Just imagine. I couldn't imagine running PR for a school shooter who murdered babies. Like, that's essentially what these people on Twitter are doing, these leftists. They're running PR for a mass murderer, for a school shooter who killed 3 Christian children, white children, and it was a racially motivated attack. It was uh, I believe that it really was a faith motivated attack. I mean, she talks about God. She asked God for the wrath to calm her anxiety, to be able to carry this out. She has a plan, a schedule. Even in the schedule, it indicates that there was a video. So I want to see the video. They are burying this, the Nashville police, and we've already talked about, David Paul and I, the Nashville police coming out there and saying, "Oh, the dissemination of this manifesto is emotionally traumatic." No, I would say that the shooter shooting up babies because they're white and because they're Christians, that's what's emotionally traumatic. And I believe the general public deserves to know everything in that manifesto and the video. Where's the video? I want to know where the video's at.
Yeah.
There's a video of her.
You're not gonna see the video until after the election, Kat. It's always after the election.
Mhm.
It's, you can't find out information about the hunter's laptop till after the election. Bottom line, Kat, is this: I know that we keep steering away from it, but we can't. She's mentally ill.
Mhm.
And she even self-admits her anxiety. She's struggling emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. The whole trans thing is just another example of what is going on inside of this person's head,
Mhm.
and unfortunately,
Well, I think we need to start there with the mental health and the mental health issue. Let's look at the population that has the highest suicide rate. That's transvestites. I mean, they have the highest suicide. It doesn't even compare to when the Jewish people were killing themselves to avoid Nazi gas chambers. Okay, so this is the highest suicide rate in recorded U.S. or in world history, was when the Jewish people were killing themselves to avoid slaughter from the Nazis.
Mhm.
And this far outpaces their suicide rate. It's
Yeah.
incredible. We need to start there. We need to make sure that if we're going to ban guns for anybody, let's get them out of the transvestites' hands.
Well, yeah, if Kat, a lot to be said about that. Unfortunately, mental illness is something that we use as a piece on the chessboard.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate because people are truly struggling. This person is struggling. Well, she was struggling, I should say. Now she's no longer struggling. The
Oh, she's
Nashville.
struggling. She's in hell.
Well, I mean, and that's the issue, is that it's the mental health issue is so much broader, and we continue to just avoid it at every turn.
Mhm.
We don't deal with the real issues because it doesn't create the gamemanship in Washington, in Springfield. It's all about follow the money.
Follow the money. All right, folks, we do have to take a quick break, but we're going to be back. I do want to get to this Virginia Democrat, this P tape. That's an actual P tape. And this isn't the first Democrat. I don't know what's going on.
Peeing tape.
Peeing tape.
Not
She's
P tape.
peeing on video and she
Peeing.
posted it.
Yeah.
What?
Anything.
What? We're going to be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz.
Peeing on video.
She's peeing on video, folks. This isn't a fake. This isn't a pee hoax. This is.
Oh, am I out of camera?
Yeah, if you could move.
I probably should get back into
To your
camera.
left.
I'm sorry. I got a little lazy there, Kat.
Yes.
Let me see if I can move this camera a little bit.
Yep, there we go.
Is that better, Kat?
Yep, that is perfect. That's even better.
Is that better, audience? Thank you.
Yes. Smash the like button.
Smash the like button.
Smash the like button. Don't forget to like, love, subscribe. Share this out with your friends. Text in at 309-451-9299. Yes.
Kat, I'm so amazed. I can see why you're worn out. You get yourself so worked up on these situations.
I do. Well, and I get the mental health issue, but I don't want it to distract from how truly like she was insane but sane. You know what I mean? She set out for a cause, and this was her idea of being a martyr. To be in a state like that is really messed up, but she was doing this because she wanted to be a martyr for the transgender cause. She wanted to be a martyr for the leftist ideology cause. She prayed to God. In her manifesto, she had a very detailed out schedule, and what the left is going to try to say is, oh, this is a one-off, this is mental illness, they're going to brush it off as that. And and I get that. She is mentally ill. It's very clear. I mean, nobody goes in there of sound mind, really, truly sound mind, and shoots children. I mean, I just couldn't even, I can't even imagine the level of insanity that takes. But she was in her mind, a martyr for the cause. And what we're doing in the public education system, we are creating martyrs, and this activism that is taking place within the public education system is dangerous, especially when you have people in Audrey Hale's state, when they're being fed this at every corner through the big tech, through mainstream media, through the public school system, that white privilege is wrong.
Let Sigmund Freud step in for a second.
Okay.
Taking Sigmund Freud's position. It's conditioning. Are you familiar with the psychological term of conditioning?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
It's an attack on your amygdala.
And it's a scheduling, right? Because we're delivering the messaging over and over again. They study this. They thrive on this. They're trying to figure out how to turn something, so big. There's a reason the left doesn't like MAGA. MAGA is huge because they like to make fun of Trump for saying huge, and MAGA, Make America Great Again, because they never thought that America was great or would be great. They don't want the greatness of America according to the Constitution, exceptionalism, liberty, freedom, the pursuit of happiness. That's not what they want. They want conditioning.
And they want the Audrey Hales.
They do. They want a lot of it.
Yes. And
they need it.
That's where I'm at, where I just don't want to chalk this up to a one-off. There are going to be more Audrey Hales.
No, Maine is not. We don't know enough. Why is it that they suddenly found this guy dead in a recycling thing and we don't hear anymore? Who offed him?
Yeah.
Did he off himself?
They say he did.
Yeah.
We're back. Hold on. Wow. The end of the show. The end of the second hour here, 7:58 a.m. We're going to be back in the 8 o'clock hour. I've got so much to cover. I mean, it's just been a packed show. One thing that I do want to hit is this Virginia Democrat. I've been meaning to hit it all day. It's incredible, and she's not the only one. I don't know what's going on in Virginia. Actually, scratch that. I don't know what's going on in the political landscape when it comes to the Democrat Party, because unconventional behavior by Democrat candidates has been taking place nationwide, specifically in Virginia. I've got two candidates we got to talk about next. Good morning, folks. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. We're going to talk about this Virginia Democrat. It's weird. It's very weird. And it's an actual P-tape.
We haven't seen enough weirdness in the world. We're going to get more weird.
Well, and AOC, she's come out now.
The best is yet to come, but the worst is yet to come. Our people on the other side of these microphones need to understand. There's a lot of things positive that are going to happen, but there's a lot of negative stuff that's going to happen too. We just have to learn to understand why all of this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key.
It's biblical.
Well, yes, unequivocally. I mean, you and I believe that there's nothing new under the sun. Like Mike Johnson says, the answers are in the Bible. Now, what the leftists say is, well, the Bible is flawed in so many ways because they believe in la 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 la. No, that was the manifestation of man trying to reconcile between the flesh and the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't condone everything that happened in the Bible. Heck, I don't condone the crucifixion of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I think that was wrong.
But the thing is it was foretold that would be the case.
Yeah.
Go look at the book of Isaiah. I love how they quote the book of Deuteronomy, the books of the law, which really are more based on Judaism than they are in Christianity.
Yeah.
I love it how they always point to the law. By all means, Jesus called out the Pharisees and scribes because of the way that they treated the people.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's why they killed him. We are going to talk a little bit about this Virginia Democrat. Virginia's political landscape has really just been taken by storm with some unconventional behavior, I'll call it that, by Democrat candidates, specifically white liberal women. So I think it's kind of interesting when you look at the demographic breakdown of district administrators. It's all women. It's all women district administrators in public school systems. And we just got the Illinois report card. If you look at the demographics of these district administrators, it's all liberal white women. I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that the Democrat Party is promising them higher salaries. They're pushing for higher salaries via the union. They're in bed together, the union and the Democrat Party, and they are paying their acolytes. They're campaigning on behalf of the Democrat Party, these liberal white women in the public school system. But that's not really what I want to talk about here. I want to talk about these women who are running as candidates. Susanna Gibson. Now, she was a House of Delegates hopeful and was as recently as last year. She posted something called Hot Wife Experience. As Hot Wife Experience, that was her username on a website called Chatterbait, where she would get men to use tokens to get her to perform sex acts. Yes, this was a pornographic site. She used the term Hot Wife Experience. There's things that she did on this website that I cannot say over the microphone. But in one video she recorded last year, shortly after she launched her campaign, this Susanna Gibson, she said things that I can't repeat on air. In this video, and she talked about forcing unsuspecting hotel staff to take part in her pornographic plays or whatever, in her pornographic videos that she wanted to make with her husband. And she wanted to get hotel staff in on it and force unsuspecting hotel staff to get in on the pornographic behavior and degenerate behavior. Okay. She talked about this in a video and it was released last year. Rather than owning up to this degenerate behavior, she doubled down and she tried to portray herself as some sort of victim. And even Senator Louise Lucas tried to defend her in an attempt to pin conservatives as being in the wrong here. She was the one who posted this video that talked about things that I cannot say on air. She was the one who posted this. She talked about how she wanted unsuspecting hotel staff to take part in these sexual acts with her husband in this video. And she wanted to force the hotel staff to take part in this. And it was a weird video, truly bizarre. And if you are curious, go watch it. I watched it. Once was enough for me. You can't get that out of your head after watching something like that. But she was running for the House of Delegates in Virginia. She launched a campaign after creating a video like that, which is just wild to me and very unconventional. This degenerate behavior was not even justified, defended. So Luis Lucas is his name. He defended this woman. And this isn't even the woman I'm talking about this morning. There was a different woman in Virginia that I've got to talk about this morning. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. A Virginia Democrat posting a video of herself urinating outdoors in the world's unsexiest P tape. Unsexiest P tape. She is weird. And this is an actual P tape. It's not a hoax. Remember when they said that Donald Trump was peeing on hookers or whatever, and that there was a tape out there? That was a P tape hoax. I mean, that was just, it was fake. And here we have a Democrat who actually posts herself peeing. This is an actual P tape.
Actually, it was prostitutes were peeing on a bed that supposedly Barack Obama did. Am I getting the story right, Kat?
I don't know. I have
but,
no
but
idea.
it's because you can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about in a world gone mad.
In a world gone mad.
I mean, Judge Joe.
But here's the thing, David. Here's an actual P tape, and no mainstream media is talking about this woman who actually films herself. This is the most cringiest thing on the internet, I think, that I've ever come across. And here, the mainstream media is silent. But then they cook up these lies about Donald Trump, and they have no problem reporting on that.
They normalize deviant behavior,
Mm.
whether it's you've covered a couple stories locally with former county board members who were pictured with a being next to him, made up at Halloween or during Christmas, the
Satan.
Grampus, Satan, basically. But this is what they try to normalize everything. The border, coming across the border illegally into our country, is normalized. That this is actually a humanitarian crisis, which it is. It's unfortunate. We shouldn't be allowing people just an open border, because they're not just coming from South America and Mexico and Central America. They're coming from all around the world. They're flying in from Spain via Ukraine or Romania, as the gentleman that we had on the show a couple months ago.
Yeah, he came in from Romania, and these are foreign nationals, and people are
They're not reporting about that either.
No, and these are foreign nationals, and the Palestinian protests, which there was a big one at Milner Library on Illinois State University's campus. There were quite a bit of people there, I will say. I think that there were quite a bit of people. Now, I know Sonny Garcia, she probably
Hundreds,
got the
thousands. Well, not quite thousands.
not thousands, maybe 100.
I think it looked similar to an insurrection.
Yeah.
A candlelight insurrection with Sonny Garcia.
It was Sonny Garcia. Sonny Garcia is the long-term boyfriend of one of our McLean County board members, Crystal Abel. He is an activist who has said things like "Hail Satan."
Yeah, right there on the mic with Kevin Ferris from Speechless at
Yes.
the DeSantis dinner over in Peoria.
Yes, a proclaimed Satanist says things like "Hail Satan." Was a part of a rally, and I found David gave me the video of Sonny Garcia out there with several people at Milner Library with Palestinian flags and signs that said "Free Palestine," which is just, it's it's utterly hilarious because you and I both know, David, that Palestine is not a country. It's never been a country. Actually, the term Palestina comes from when Rome, there was a Caesar who coined this term, Palestina. He named all of the people who gathered in Israel after he destroyed the Jews, after the Roman Empire destroyed the Jews. What was it, 70 AD? He named this area Palestina, and that's where it comes from. And he committed genocide against the Jewish people, and the Jewish people scattered what was left of them around all kinds of corners of the world after that, after the fall of Israel. And uh, eventually, the United Nations in 1948, I think, declared Israel a state for a Jewish state.
Yes.
So this whole Palestina thing was a figment, really, of this Caesar's imagination. And he was a tyrant. He was crazy, and he killed all of these people.
Cat.
Palestine, it is comes from it's a derivative of the word Philistine.
Yes.
David and Goliath. Goliath was a Philistine. Philistinians, they were very adversarial. Let's just put it that way, against Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
In biblical history.
Yeah, the Philistine was, Goliath was a Philistine.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, everybody knows the story of David and Goliath.
That's right.
Right.
Brought down the Philistine, cut off his head, blah, 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 blah. Conquered the Philistine. But Kat, the thing is fast forward, we provided a 2-state solution for the people of the people group called the Philistine or the Palestinians.
Mm-hmm.
They were given Gaza.
Mm.
What we're talking about right now, which is so funny how they flipped the script. Israel was invaded by a terrorist group called Hamas,
mm-hmm.
who 51% of the people in Gaza, Palestine, voted those people into office. Hamas.
Mm-hmm.
They performed horrific debauchery and brutalized the people of Israel to an extent of thousands being murdered, dismembered, killed,
beheaded, babies, beheaded.
Yeah, everything. We have, once again, you talk about, is it a hoax? No, it's caught on live TV. They were filming it. People from Palestine / Hamas were filming it with their phones.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that this took place. All that Israel is doing is protecting their people by not allowing invasions.
Mm-hmm.
I applaud the people of Israel for defending their borders
mm-hmm.
and defending their people. I wish we would do that in the United States.
Yeah, and they shout things like from the river to the sea, that's the Jordan River, to the Mediterranean Sea. That means we want to take over the entirety of the Israel state, of Israel, the Jewish state. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
Mm-hmm.
This goes all the way back to 70 AD. This was Palestina. It wasn't even like declaring it a country. It was just naming the people who flooded that area. That was Israel.
Group, yeah.
It was a people group. And it was really a figment of his imagination, this deranged Caesar who came in and destroyed the Jewish people.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. And these people are just so misguided. The people at Milner Library, Sonny Garcia, these leftist activists, you're so misguided. You don't understand.
The PP tape lady,
yes.
Who's actually has a PP tape.
Yes. So let's get to that. Virginia's political landscape has recently been taken by storm by some of the most unconventional behavior that I've ever seen by Democrat candidates. I don't understand, when political candidates run for office, I feel like you wouldn't run for office if you have this many demons in your closet, right? Or if you have this much garbage. So let's go back to Susanna Gibson. Do you know who this is, David?
I do not know, but I'm familiar with Virginia.
So she is a liberal white woman. Mm-hmm. They all are. And she was a House of Delegates hopeful. So I think in Virginia, they call it the House of Delegates, which is like state of or like a
Well, it's
state
Virginian
representative.
Commonwealth, the Commonwealth. Yeah.
Yeah. So she was a hopeful, and she recently, as last year, posted as what she called herself as a username, Hot Wife Experience. And she posted as a user on this website called Chatterbait.
Oh boy.
So
Oh boy.
this is where men would use tokens,
Oh, boy.
and Chatterbait, this is how it works, I guess. Men would use tokens to get her to perform sex acts on video. So, and she's running in Virginia for the House of Delegates. Okay, having this as a like side gig, I guess. So she's campaigning and doing hot wife experience. So her and her husband would do this. So shortly after she launched her campaign, a video
Sodom,
she recorded.
Gomorrah.
Yes. She shortly after she launched her campaign, there was a video. A video came out, and I mean, she did things in this video I can't repeat on air. And
Yeah, this is a G-rated show, Kat.
Yes, G-rated. G-rated. Sometimes PG. But she did things that
I'm
I can't talk
uncomfortable
about.
over here, Kat.
I know, you're sweating.
I'm starting to feel like I might need to bring a priest in.
In this video, she calls for, or well, talks about how she wants to force hotel workers at this hotel that she and her husband are staying at. In this video, she wants to force unsuspecting hotel staff to take part in their video. A video I can't talk about on air. Okay. Things that they were doing. So this was released, and rather than own up to her own degenerate behavior, she doubled down and she portrayed herself as some sort of victim, David. And Senator Lewis Lucas, a guy out of Virginia, defended her on Twitter at the time, and tried to pin it on conservatives that they were in the wrong here, and said that they were being mean to her and sexually harassing her for posting a video that she posted on a website that is available to everybody. I mean, this is an open forum. You don't have to pay to be on the website. This is a public forum. She posted this video herself and admit that. So Susanna Gibson, this is what the Lewis Lucas said at the time. Glenn Youngkin's team leaked videos of Susanna Gibson to try to embarrass and humiliate her, and they failed completely. Now we're going to make this the biggest fundraising day of her campaign.
Good luck with that. Like the Trump mugshot, of course, that was going to propel you. So, Kat, real quick, I want to interject.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why these people are so rabid in Virginia and hateful? They flipped that state from blue to red in 2021. Glenn Youngkin became the governor of a blue state. They had a strategy. They operationalized the electoral process. They flooded the zone. I talked about flooding the zone is what this is a new strategy being used by both the Democrats and the Republicans. But that's why they're angered, because they flipped that state. They have a lieutenant governor who is also a Republican, because they separate out, they don't do what we do here in Illinois, where the governor and the lieutenant governor run together.
Oh, wow.
So they've put in Winsome Sears. You've heard of her, right?
Yeah, she's awesome.
Predominant, conservative, strong voice.
Who happens to be black.
According to Annie from Washington Post,
who
happens to be black.
Who is black.
Yeah, who is black. Yeah. Ty Smith, is a great American. Yeah, do my Mark Levin. But that's that they are incensed, right? When you want to see liberalism at its finest, watch when the conservative movement, a faith-based movement, why are they going off the rails with Mike Johnson?
And this is really unconventional behavior. And I think they were grabbing at straws. Really, I think that they were trying to do just absolutely crazy things to try to get attention, because they knew that they were out of cards. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty certain that John Fetterman is about, if you want to look at the modern Democrat Party, just go no further than John Fetterman.
Yeah. But I mean, to get back to today, this video that came out, we are going to take a break. Before I leave Gibson, we've been talking about this woman from Susanna Gibson. She says to the Washington Post,
Annie,
my political opponents and their Republican allies have proven they're willing to commit a sex crime to attack me and my family because there's no line that they won't cross to silence women when they speak up. It's unclear. I don't how you can leak something that's already available to the public. I mean, committing a sex crime, people just reposted what you posted. I don't understand it. So that's Susanna Gibson.
Yeah.
Okay, but there's more. There's another Democrat. Her name is Jessica Anderson, and she was hoping to land a seat in the state house. She's making headlines this morning for posting a video of herself urinating in a public space, an actual P tape. We're going to get to her P tape and what she says in it, the video, because she's recording herself. We're going to be back on the other side. David Paul Blumenshine and I, Cities 92.9. Woo! Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Before we took the break, I was telling you guys a little bit about a woman named Jessica Anderson. This is hilarious. David Paul Blumenshine joining me in studio. Good morning, David. How are you?
When you say Jessica Anderson, I can't help but think of Pamela Anderson. And by no means did I ever watch Pamela Anderson on that. What was that show she was on? Baywatch or something?
Pamela Anderson.
See, Kat, I do this to you.
You do this to me every single time. You see it in my eyes. As soon as you bring up somebody from back in the day.
David Hasselhoff. Do you know who that is? The Black Knight.
Yes.
He had the car show. I watch so little TV and have for a very long time because I never found any true redeeming value in TV. And rightfully so. Look at where TV has gone. Look at where the internet has taken us. I mean, it's very rare that you can find good material. So when you ask how I'm doing, there you go. That was a long answer to a short question.
Long answer to a short question. I can't help but think of Pamela Anderson. This is Jessica Anderson, and you're talking about the internet and weird things that you find on the internet. This is one of them. I'm going to play it, and then we're going to react to it, David. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, strap in.
Yeah, I'm peeing. Avoid yellow snow.
She says, yeah,
I'm
peeing. You can hear it in the background.
Avoid yellow snow.
Her peeing. So she's videotaping herself peeing. And folks, if you are on the live stream, you can see it.
And
YouTube,
she's
Facebook,
running
Twitter.
for public office.
She's running for public office, yes.
Yeah.
In Virginia. And she's made headlines now because she's hoping to land this seat in the state house. And, because it's totally normal. They're normalizing this, as you were talking about, David, narrating a urination experience like a complete psycho, then posting it to TikTok, then running for state legislative office. Like, it doesn't get much crazier than that. Does she think that this public urination stunt is really going to help her in her campaign? Is that what she thinks voters want to see? David, you've ran for office.
Yes.
There's a decorum, right? There should be at least some sort of level of decorum.
It's interesting you bring this up because this morning, as I was getting prepared, I have dogs to let out. I have dogs to feed. I'm actually dog sitting right now for a friend of ours from church. And
shout out to Laura.
Yeah, shout out to Laura. And she has 2 dogs that I'm commuting across town a couple times a day to let out and to feed. You have life. As you're running as a candidate, I truly have been able to realize how much effort goes into putting yourself out there to run for office and all the work, contacting voters, material, meetings that go on, events, just trying to let the world know that you're running. The saddest part about it is Kat, what I came to the realization is, do people really care?
Yeah.
Do they really care anymore? Are they so fixated and brainwashed into this comfort that they don't believe they have really any voice any longer? This is my concern, because these people that are doing these extreme things, it's not part of what it means to serve others.
Yes.
Is to
She's making a mockery of our democracy. That's what it is, or of our Constitution, Republic, and of our democratic process, which is an election and holding an election. And she's making a mockery of it by acting like an idiot and acting like a dog. I mean, this behavior is absolutely wild.
Well, let's just cut right to the chase, because he led us into this segment. Mark Levin, he wrote a book, Democrats Hate America. This is a mockery of the constitutional republic that we exist in. They try to there is no moral clarity anymore in our country.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have moral leaders. In fact, we even heard, while Mike Coolidge was on there, Steve Scalise, be a man. You're asked a question by George Snuffleupagus, or whatever his name is, Snuffleupagus from
Snuffleupagus.
Yeah. You're asked a question. Was the election stolen? Damn right it was.
Yeah.
It was stolen. It was
Rigged.
fixed. It's rigged. Election interference. You listen to Democrats we put up this video on our Facebook page. 11 minutes of Democrats deriding the legitimacy of President Donald Trump.
Mhm.
Multiple Democrats, up as high as Barack Obama, Jimmy Carter, Hillary Clinton, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris. I mean, they all said that he was not a legitimate president.
Yeah, you stole the election, media. You stole the
Yeah.
election.
George Stephanopoulos.
Ruby Freeman,
Yes.
who's caught on tape.
Where is the responsibility for how many years have we heard about Russian collusion and disinformation and that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, only to know that now it wasn't disinformation? Though you people need to self-search and find out where you're at. I'm pulling something up for you, Kat.
Well, we have got to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to continue talking a little bit about this because I've got to hash this out because this is absolutely insane. Her response. Okay. So, yet again, she blames conservatives for her degenerate behavior instead of owning up to this degenerate behavior. She plays victim. It's almost like this is a weird campaign tactic where they do these really unconventional things. They act degenerate, and these Democrats will put out these inappropriate behavior on video posted, and then they play victim. It's almost like they've made a game out of it. So we're going to talk about her response to the grief that she's getting from this video, this Virginia GOP or Virginia candidate. She's running for the state house. We're going to be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's Kat Peterson 929. You can also subscribe to the DPB show. That's the DPB show on YouTube. On YouTube. We'll be back.
And literally did a sex tape.
Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson. That's what I'm saying. You kept saying this Anderson lady. I'm like,
Jessica Anderson is her
there's
name.
nothing new under sun.
Nothing new under sun. Look at Pamela Anderson. She did it.
1999. She was doing and this is the Daily Mail. She's of course you do, JB.
Gross. Just absolutely gross. I love Ryan McKenzie. He's like, that's gross. Yeah, it is gross.
It is gross.
And she describes she was running and she was outside and she was a mile away from the bathroom. She says that the right-wing trolls, they don't put it into context. Lady, you filmed it and then posted it.
You filmed it though.
Onto TikTok. That's not normal behavior. That's degeneracy. That's wild.
So if you knew that you were far from a restroom, you had to go to the restroom, nobody needed to know that.
Yeah. No, here's the thing though. These Democrats, it's a play. They put this kind of wild stuff out there and then they play victim when people call them out for their wild behavior. AOC is a master at this. People love AOC, leftists do. Anyway, because she plays victim. I'm a bartender and I just did this.
Well, she learned that in the trade. I mean, because if you talk about a trade where you learn to manipulate people, that's being a bartender.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're serving people alcohol.
From a prior bartender.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Nasty. Yes. We're getting comments in today. Yes. So she films herself urinating. And this is just typical Democrat behavior. We talked about one Virginia Democrat, this sex tape that came out, and this video where she describes how she wants to forcefully have hotel workers at this hotel she's staying at participate in this pornographic video. And this is par for the course, and that's what my whole shtick here is they are for degeneracy. They are not for the American people. They do not care. Even when they're candidates, they're not even in office and they're running and they're making a mockery of our democratic process, which is an election. And you're putting a video out there. I mean, it gets even worse. So Jessica Anderson, she's in an eggplant costume. You know what an eggplant is, David?
Eggplant.
Yes.
Eggplant. Yes, I know the eggplant.
Yes.
She's in a costume of an eggplant.
Yes.
Okay.
And she's dancing around in this eggplant very provocatively. It's an odd video. And she posts this, the same woman. And I've never seen a candidate act in such a way.
Well, it's not. Yeah, believe me, if I would have had videos like that as a candidate for state representative, yeah, yeah, you know
Go
that
over
you
well.
know that the radio station down the way and many others would have, and if any article. See, that's the hard thing about DPB is they try to figure out how to bring out something. They're hoping there's something.
Yeah.
You know, they'll try to discredit you in any manner, whether it's financial, emotional, spiritual, physical, intellectual. They try to discredit
Well, you got to flip the script, like Mike Coolidge said early this morning. Flip the script on them. That's why I mean, Shana Wachinsky, she was a McLean County board member. She's got pictures up of her sporting a pagan, have yourself a merry pagan Christmas. I mean, that's what says, or merry pagan holiday. I don't know what it says on her shirt. But you're sporting where that suggests and
satanic symbol on it, right?
Yeah, well, it was the pagan star or satanic star. I don't know what it is. But it says the word pagan on it. You look up pagan religions and what they've done.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want a representative like that if she is in fact a pagan. I mean, when you're sporting I mean that's your
Cat.
You identify. I mean, your identity. I mean, that's your freedom of expression, and you choose to express yourself in a way that.
How far are we away from Senator Kennedy of Louisiana rating from all boys aren't blue and genderqueer during a hearing?
Yeah, Senate
with
hearing.
Alexi Julianis at it, and he even admitted liberals even don't like to hear but they're purveyors of it. This is what they do until you bring it to light, and it needs to be brought to light.
Yeah, I mean, we had somebody who, I mean, I did that story, the town of Normal, the drag queen who participated, I mean, in a satanic ritual. And we hired this person and I think paid like $1,000 or so for this person to come on the taxpayer dime to perform for an all-age audience.
Yeah.
Degeneracy, gross, nasty. Yes, these are the comments that are flowing in on the YouTube live stream. You guys can see us there, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter,
or as your favorite
Rumble.
president says, a nation in decline. But he doesn't say it like that. I can't do a President Trump imitation.
We're a nation in decline.
Cat can do Trump. I love it.
Nation in decline. Yes, we are. We are a nation in decline. And that's very clear from Jessica Anderson, who not only recorded herself narrating a public urination experience where she was running and then she stopped to use the bathroom. Well, not the bathroom, but to use the outdoor facilities.
Well, Cat, you're a runner. I mean, I was a runner at one time. I mean, sometimes. Now, what I found, Cat, was
I don't film myself.
Well, I understand that,
and I don't then run for state office.
What I found was I always tried to go to the restroom before
it's
at a porta potty at one of these running events before I ran, and surprisingly, if I had to go, it never happened while I was running. Something about running kind of takes that out of you. Maybe it's because you're sweating. I don't know. I don't know all the biology.
Yeah, well, bodily function. So it's the same reason why, you can't run and also be hungry at the same time. So like your body has to like eat.
I do
otherwise,
eat afterwards.
Yeah, like it's the same thing. It's like your bodily functions are very, very much, and people know this. I mean, it's amazing what the human body does. Like without sleep, you can't function for the rest of the day. So you have to sleep before you do the rest of the day. But anyway, so
Well, you didn't film yourself. You haven't filmed yourself. You're
No.
a runner, avid runner. This isn't normal behavior
Mhm.
that you film yourself, even if you did take a, deviated somebody is listen, you know what, you should call in if you have a good answer. Our friend who is texting me right now, you should call into the studio line at 309-451-9299. That is David Quinn. He is a trainer, right?
Yes.
So if anybody could give you a reason behind this, it would be David Quinn. Hey, David, we miss hearing from you. Go ahead and call. We'll put you online right now.
Yeah.
You can tell us. But I know one thing, David, you haven't probably filmed yourself and put it out on TikTok. And I don't believe that you give your trainees that advice to go ahead and film themselves.
No, and I don't even know if it's legal. It might be legal. Public urination, it's probably illegal in some cases.
He's also former law enforcement.
Yeah, yeah.
he
So he
probably
would
can tell.
know.
I
He'd be
think
able.
public urination is a
Illegal.
misdemeanor.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Yeah. So here she is. She's filming herself possibly committing misdemeanor, public urination, right?
But that's nothing rare for anybody seeking a seat in
Yeah.
Congress.
Yeah.
Breaking the law is
Breaking the law. They'll just change it once they get in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just rewrite the laws.
Rewrite the laws.
As
I'm
you
sure
see
she
fit.
will. So Anderson, she defended both the urinating publicly and posting the video. She said, since the right-wing trolls and the employees of the Virginia GOP don't like to show the full context, I'll help them out. Here's my video of one of my many fun running vlogs I made to bring joy and laughter to others. I was over a mile from a restroom, and these are the realities of runners. The most irritating part about all of this is that this woman actually thinks that she's competent enough to make laws for the state of Virginia. Like, this woman obviously doesn't think, and that alone
She
is
obviously doesn't
infuriating.
prepare.
Yeah, well, she doesn't have accountability. David, I go to the restroom before I go for a mile or so run if there's no restrooms available. And if you find yourself in a situation like this, you don't film it and put it online. You weirdo. She's a weirdo. And she's out there and she's like, for the right-wing trolls that don't like to show the full context. No, the full context is there. You filmed yourself while being
And you're running for
outside.
public office.
You're running for public office.
These political creatures out there. Obviously, I thought you were going to expand upon our very own congressman from the 17th congressional district, which encompasses 14 counties and a lot of Bloomington Normal, because that's the way the Dems drew the maps, so they could make sure that they tried to hold on to many different offices. But Eric Sorensen, Congressman Sorensen, I don't believe that he is pro-Christian.
No, in fact, I think he is anti-Christian, according to this video that he released.
Retweeted.
Yes, he retweeted it. And it's from an Amy Vanderpool, and he retweeted it, reposted it, and really what it does, it takes Mike Johnson's words and splices a tape of Mike Johnson's words from the Sean Hannity show, where he's on this doing this interview on Fox News, and then he splices it next to this video from The West Wing. This is a movie.
West Wing movie. It was like the script, the playbook for the left wing was The West Wing.
Yeah, I don't know where. I'd imagine it's on Netflix. Anything on Netflix is uber woke. It's ridiculous. But here's the video, and I'm going to play some of it, and we're going to unpack it here on The Buzz. Let's take a listen.
People are curious, what does Mike Johnson think about any issue under the sun? I said, well, go pick up a Bible off your shelf and read it. That's my worldview.
Forgive me, Dr. Jacobs. Are you an MD?
A PhD.
A PhD?
Yes, sir.
In psychology?
No, sir.
Like Joe Biden.
Theology?
No.
Social work?
I have a PhD in English literature.
I'm asking because on your show, people call in for advice, and you go by the name Dr. Jacobs on your show, and I didn't know if maybe your listeners were confused by that and assumed you had advanced training in psychology, theology, or healthcare.
I don't believe they are confused. No, sir.
Good. I like your show. I like how you call homosexuality an abomination.
I don't say homosexuality is an abomination, Mr. President. The Bible does.
Yes, it does. Leviticus
18:22.
chapter and verse. I wanted to ask you a couple of questions while I had you here. I'm interested in selling my youngest daughter into slavery as sanctioned in Exodus 21:7. She's a Georgetown sophomore, speaks fluent Italian, always cleared the table when it was her turn. What would a good price for her be? While thinking about that, can I ask another? My chief of staff, Leo McGarry, insists on working on the Sabbath. Exodus 35:2 clearly says he should be put to death. Am I morally obligated to kill him myself, or is it okay to call the police? Here's one that's really important, because we've got a lot of sports fans in this town. Touching the skin of a dead pig makes one unclean, Leviticus 11:7. If they promise to wear gloves, can the Washington Redskins still play football? Can Notre Dame? Can West Point? Does the whole town really have to be together to stone my brother John for planting different crops side by side?
So the video goes on. That's from the movie West Wing. Eric Swanson, he reposted this video alongside a Mike Johnson clip where he says that, hey, if you are curious about my positions on political issues, just look to the Bible.
And his favorite Bible verse or chapter from the Bible is Psalm 37, which I encourage you to go read today, everyone. But you know, this West Wing, left wing, West Wing,
Mhm.
the actor. Do you know who that actor is?
No.
Martin Sheen.
Martin Sheen.
You know who Martin Sheen is, right?
Yeah.
He's Emilio Estevez's father, a Hollywood,
Mhm.
person, obviously. He's a known leftist. Imagine that.
Oh.
That's shocking.
So shocking. Yeah.
You know,
No. I mean, it's
this
not
is what
shocking.
these
And
folks do.
what they did, they took the Bible out of context. There's an amazing response. I'm actually going to publish that response on my Morning Buzz Facebook page. Somebody's already done a response to this because I guess the leftists love using this West Wing clip. It's called the West Wing Bible Lesson. And Eric Swanson tried to, school Mike Johnson on his Twitter page.
Sorensen.
Sorensen.
Sore.
Sorensen. Yay.
Oh, by the way,
He's going to be out of there in a little
Charlie
bit.
Sheen,
Oh, yeah. Charlie Sheen. I know who that
that's
is.
his dad.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Charlie Sheen wasn't even all that great of a guy either.
Well, Martin Sheen obviously professes to be a faithful man.
Yeah. So we're going to be back on the other side. This is the Morning Buzz. Eric Sorensen. He posted that, and I don't think that's very representative of the 17th Congressional District.
No, not at all.
We're going to be back unpacking it on the Buzz next. Sorensen.
He has a sore.
He has a sore heart.
And a sore bottom.
Oh, David. I love it.
There I said it.
He makes everything about his identity, his sexuality.
Yes.
And he is
From
big
day
mad
one.
at Christians. And I wish that Eric would go to church and understand that that is not what the Bible talks about. Now, it does talk about homosexuality and how it is an abomination and how the Bible does say that.
Actually, I don't hear that a lot. I know one thing. The practicing sex outside of marriage or with somebody of the same sex is a sin.
Yes.
It's just a sin.
It's a sin. No greater, no less.
That's right. It's a sin.
Yeah.
So you're living in the state of sin. You can be redeemed from a state of sin. You don't have to live in a state of sin.
Mm-hmm.
But he obviously wants to justify his sinful behavior.
Sorensen.
So he's going to attack anybody
Sorensen
that disagrees with him.
He's the worst.
And doesn't validate or celebrate his sexual sin.
And here's the thing. He is a representative.
Yeah.
You can have your own convictions. You can have your own religious, whatever you practice.
Yeah.
That's fine. But when you make a mockery of those who practice Christianity and look to the Bible for answers. That is our religion. We Christians, Mike Johnson, he looks to the Bible for answers. And
specifically,
Swanson is mocking him for that.
He's mocking Christianity and anybody that's in his district that happens to believe in a Christian perspective, a Christian worldview, and which is really sad because Eric, if you happen to tune in to Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington, Normal, and beyond, let me give you some advice. We've got a border crisis. Your district is infiltrated by people groups that are not here legally. We're in the state of Illinois, Eric. I don't know if you got the memo yet, but we're not doing very well overall. Now, contrary to that, you talking points from JB and the list goes on and on and on, Juliana, Stratton, and all of the talking heads of the Democrat Party believe that the state of Illinois has never been better. Really. The rankings don't show that. The Auditor General's report doesn't show it. When you come back to the land of reality rather than the land of make-believe, then we can have a discussion.
He has secured over $500,000 for trees in Bloomington Normal. This is, and I'm all for trees, David.
I love trees.
I love trees. Is it priority number one?
No.
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 No. Trees are not priority number one.
Well, there's other priorities. Granted, we want to be good stewards of the earth. We want trees. We want plants to grow. We love this clean water. That's something that Republicans and Democrats, I think, agree upon.
Yeah.
Is preserving the landscape and nature.
Democrats don't agree with that because they consistently come up with ways to destroy the planet through, not having controlled burns. What happened in Maui?
Yeah,
that's all due to Democrat policy failing the planet. They want to talk about policies that destroy the planet. Democrats are the biggest purveyors of that. Look at what happened in Maui, where they said, you know what? We're not going to do controlled burns anymore. And we're going to just let all of this native grassland run amok. And we are going to have this really like fire hazard. That's what it is. It's fire hazard, wildfire hazard. Controlled burns actually keep the land from being engulfed in wildfires like Maui experienced. Democrat policies, they also were so focused on solar energy, wind energy, that they decided to abandon the electric, the Hawaii Electric. They weren't keeping up with the infrastructure that they needed to keep those or to get those electric lines to de-electrify when they needed to. So when the winds picked up, the company couldn't shut off the electric lines because they didn't have the infrastructure to shut off the electric lines because they didn't keep up with that. They didn't have the capabilities. So that was a result of Democrat policy. They could have de-electrified those power lines, but they didn't because they didn't have the infrastructure because they were so focused on getting Hawaii to run off solar and wind that they didn't keep up with the current.
That's a story that's kind of gone by the wayside. We probably won't have the full extent of the truth, for a very long time.
I don't think that we really need the full extent of the truth because, I mean, whether it was done in malice or ignorance, the result is the same.
Well, it is, but shouldn't there be an accountability? And that's the sad part.
Yeah.
Is accountability. Fret not yourself because of evildoers. Psalm 37 says, be not envious of wrongdoers, for they will soon fade like the grass and wither like the green herb.
Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for tuning in. I so do appreciate it. We've got a few minutes left. David Paul Blumenshine joining me in studio. You can see me live in Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Rumble. Subscribe to our channels, The DPP Show, Kat Peterson 929 on YouTube. We were talking about Eric Swanson, and Eric Swanson recently came out with $500 million, or I don't know, $500,000 or something like that for trees, which I love trees, David. You love trees?
I love trees. I love flowers. I love the landscape. It is the harvest season. Yes. Yes. I love clean water. I
Mhm.
love everything. I want to be a good steward of the earth.
Yeah, we're going to have none of that if all of our infrastructure is crumbling and all of our systems are crumbling because we can't house people, illegal immigrants who have flooded over the border. We're going to find ourselves in a situation where we will have no trace because the infrastructure won't. We're going to have way too many people. How are we going to house all of these people? We're going to have to knock down these trees that you put up, Eric, because we've got way too many people coming over from the border. From our southern border, we've got way too many of them, and our infrastructure. Where are we going to put them? Where are we going to put them? We don't have the economic infrastructure. We don't have the hard infrastructure to put these people here in Bloomington Normal. Now, what they're talking about, Paul Vallis, a top Democrat, he says that he wants Pritzker to declare a state of emergency because of the immigrant issue. But Eric Swanson, he's worried about trees and he's worried about discriminating against Christians
I wonder
and
if
mocking Christians.
I wonder if his fellow caucus members in the Democratic Party agree with Eric. I mean, are there any Christians in the Democrat Party? I'd love to hear from Christians in the Democrat Party if they think that attacking Mike Johnson
For
and
his
his
faith.
faith, if that's American. I don't know. I mean, you certainly have the right to do that. That's what the First Amendment says,
Mhm.
Eric. But I don't know. You're down a slippery slope.
Yeah, and I would imagine that there's a lot of Christians in the 17th congressional district who would watch that video and feel mocked and feel angry because that's what it did to me. I mean, I looked at that and I was like, "Are you kidding me? I'm glad that he's not my I don't think he's my car. Maybe he is. 17th congressional
No,
district.
well, in Lincoln,
No, yeah,
yeah,
no.
you're not.
Yeah.
Mary Miller.
Mary Miller. Oh, that's my
You went
congresswoman.
from Darren LaHood to Mary Miller, so you have two Republican congresspeople
Woohoo.
versus me. My congressperson is Eric Sorensen.
Sorensen. Yep, that's him. We're done with the show. You guys can tune in tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. You have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. Love you.